Day 2 of action here at Mondello Park within the MSA British Rallycross Championship. This is the combination of the Super 1600s and the cars from the BMW Mini Championship. Yesterday, they were running anti-clockwise. It was a win in the Minis for Drew Bellamy, in the Super 1600s for Paul Coney. Today, they're racing clockwise, and Coney has been dominant. He has been fastest across all 3 qualifying heats, with yesterday's main rival Mike Boak chasing him. We're ready for the 2 semi-finals to determine the 8 for the main race. Semi-final 1 is good to go. Paul Coney lines up on pole position. There should have been Phil Chicken with him at the front, but I think he's missing. Andrew Hawks is there. Darren Scott is on row 2 with Lee and Sedgwick, and then it's Martin Hawks at the back of the grid. The lights go to green and Paul Coney blasts away, and this is a race that he should dominate. The real opposition is going to come from Darren Scott, but starting from the second row, he has left himself with work to do as the cars then go through Mobile 1 up towards turn 2, and this is the right-hander at the hole in the hedge. Paul Coney leads the way then. He has won every final thus far this year within Super 1600. He is absolutely dominant. Now there is the Joker lap being served by the car of Martin Hawks lower down the order as the race leaders then work their way across the loose for the first time. The dust hangs in the air. The organisers are watering the circuit at certain points to try and keep the dust down. That in turn makes it a bit more slippery. And there you've got Darren Scott coming up now to have a go at Andrew Hawks as they head over the line. But by the time he's gone up alongside him, look, Paul Coney has just checked out. Coney virtually gone, and the fight for second is still alive, isn't it? The green and black Mini in the hands of Andrew Hawks is keeping Darren Scott's very smart Citroën at bay. Darren Scott lines up to have a go on the outside line. Can't find a way through there. Andrew Hawks wants to make sure he's in the main race, in the final, but of course also he wants points within the Mini Championship. Through Irish Ferry's corner they go onto the loose section of circuit now. Side by side, not quite in the dust. Darren Scott again comes up alongside, and it goes to show the pace that the Minis have. They don't look as quick because they look a bit more standard, but in the right hands they really can take it to the Super 1600s. That last corner very dusty now as the drivers bring the dust onto the road. Up into second place goes Darren Scott. From that loose section into the last corner, it becomes dusty, it becomes slippery. The same is true of this next section. You can see the dust hanging in the air as Darren Scott goes wide, and back up the inside comes Andrew Hawks. Hawks challenges, but he can't find a way through there. Slots in behind as they round the right-hander at the hole in the hedge. Paul Coney getting the Joker lap done and dusted. He's on his own. Ticks that off. If you don't do the Joker, you end up with a time penalty. There is Lee and Sedgwick a little bit further back in the pack, chasing the other Mini in the race. But Darren Scott it is who comes onto the loose section, then back onto tarmac, and up front he sees Paul Coney, knowing that's the car he's got to chase, but it's a forlorn hope because Coney is just so good. The Vauxhall is very well driven, but perhaps just as importantly, it is very well put together. It's a quick car, it's a reliable car, it's a rugged car, and Paul Coney has had a great season with it thus far. Here yesterday, he did have to work pretty hard in the final to fend off the challenge of Mike Boak. He was ahead all the time, although Boak did close and oh so nearly got the jump on him on the Joker lap, but it wasn't to be. Martin Hawks goes through in daughter Jenny's Mini for today after his own had problems yesterday. For the teams, it has been a very arduous weekend. They were testing on Friday if they wanted it. They've had a full day of racing yesterday, another one today. Inevitably, we've lost a few cars overnight, and a few teams had to work long into the wee small hours this morning. No going out on the town for the Guinness. They were hard at work to get the cars race ready for today. But if you're going to come all this way across the Irish Sea, you want to make it worthwhile, and so it's a good move on the part of the organisers to make this a double-header weekend. It also is another incentive to get the teams over here because you can't afford to miss 2 championship scoring rounds. Here is Paul Coney, who is on target for a win in the semi-final, or so it would seem. The car so well driven, it is inch perfect as he comes there now out of Southside Motor Factor's corner over the timing line, and honours in semi-final 1 go the way of Paul Coney. There is Andrew Hawks. The Mini will accelerate for 3rd overall on the back of Darren Scott, so it's been a good drive this. Darren Scott taking 2nd, helped in part perhaps by the non-starter Phil Chicken though. So Paul Coney, Darren Scott, Andrew Hawks and Martin Hawks are the 4 that will go through. Leanne Sedgwick in the Citroën Saxo missing out from 5th. Semi-final 2 is good to go here at Mondello Park. Mike Boak lines up on pole, David Bell and Drew Bellaby, the joint Mini Championship leaders alongside. Lee Freeman is next. He had a big spin in the semi-final he was in yesterday and doesn't go anywhere today. Rob Methold gets away, and now Lee Freeman does go for the first corner. A dreadful start. The one that's missing is Craig Lomax. So we've lost, just as we had in the first semi-final, Phil Chicken not there. Craig Lomax missing from this, and that perhaps makes life a little bit easier for the Mini drivers. Their car's not quite so quick to get into the final. However, they've got to get through this without drama first, and at the moment it is Mike Boak leading the way. Now you can expect him to get away up the road in that Super 1600 spec Citroen, whereas behind him it is game on between Bell and Bellaby. David Bell, Drew Bellaby, the joint championship leaders. And David Bell, can you believe it, has not yet had a win this year. It was Bradley Durdin who came out on top at Croft. It was Martin Hawks at Lyddon, and then Drew Bellaby at Pembrey and here at Mondello yesterday. The next stop for the championship is back to Lyddon, August Bank holiday weekend. There you've got David Bell breaking for the hole in the hedge with Drew Bellaby closing up on the tail. The two cars in the Mini lead fight hit the loose, but you can see now Mike Boak is getting away. He comes down this chute that brings him down to Southside Motor Factors corner, back onto the tarmac, and you carry the speed, you bring the dust with you, you turn, and then you have to assess the grip level. And that's why we've had a number of people sliding out wide, and there, coming up to challenge, is Drew Bellaby alongside David Bell as they blast over the line, and Drew will go through on the inside. Sister Page, of course, one of the leading lights in Super National Rallycross, winner of the 3 rounds of that championship on the bounce. She's had a difficult weekend here, so what can Sister Drew do in this? For the Joker lap goes David Bell, and arriving all sideways is Lee Freeman. He's trying to make up for that rather slow start, but Lee Freeman arrives all crossed up. That drops him away from Rob Methold, who he had just caught. Methold there in the green and white car, threading his way through the Joker lap chicane. Ignore the conventional race circuit to the right and go for the loose. Right, because of the stagger now on the Joker lap, Mike Boak has lost his race lead, but he's going to be able to get that back, of course. Everybody has to serve that Joker, otherwise it's a 30-second penalty that hits you. Drew Bellaby goes through, looking strong in 22. Down to the hole in the hedge she comes. Father Dave Bellaby has been a rallycrosser for many, many seasons. Drew goes for the Joker lap. That puts now Mike Boak back into the lead. We're not seeing anything of Dave Bellaby this year, sadly, in the championship. Remember, he was in the supercar class last year, and taking a season off to concentrate on running his 2 daughters. Now, has Drew Bellaby fended off David Bell in the Mini battle? Yes, she has. So Drew is ahead. She comes down across the loose section of circuit once more with the dust hanging in the air, making life very difficult for the drivers. The organisers may have to water that before we get to the final. Race leader Mike Boak through, and he's set to continue his battle, and you see in the background off the road again Lee Freeman into the gravel, in fact, at Southside Motor Factors corner. He carries on, time lost. I was saying that Mike Boak is on target to carry on his battle with Paul Coney going into the final. It was a great race between the two yesterday. Let's see what we get today, with of course the circuit being run in the clockwise direction. Mike Boak is heading then towards honours within semi-final 2. Checkered flag is being made ready, and here comes Mike Boak up towards the timing line. The flag will be waved, and so Mike Boak it is that wins the second semi for the Super 1600s. Can he come out on top, though, in the final against the very rapid Paul Coney? It promises to be a great fight. The Minis come through next. Drew Bellaby, David Bell, and then Rob Methold. So let's just confirm the semi-final 2 results. Mike Boak the winner from Drew Bellaby, then David Bell, Rob Methold 4th, Lee Freeman in trouble, and Craig Lomax, sad to say, never got to the grid. The final is good to go then. The grid is formed: Paul Coney, Mike Boak and Drew Bellaby on the front row of the grid. On the second row there is Darren Scott, Super 1600, Andrew Hawks from the Minis, and then it's Minis from there on in. David Bell, Martin Hawks and Rob Methold. We are ready for the final of the weekend for the Super 1600s and the BMW Minis. The lights are green, we're racing. Who makes the best start as the front wheel drive cars scrabble for grip? It is Paul Coney who gets away the best. And Mike Boak slots in behind him with Darren Scott up to third. So the three Super 1600s lock out 1, 2 and 3. The door is open on Andrew Hawks' Mini as he goes through turn 2, down towards the hole in the hedge. Coney leading Boak, leading Scott. Does anybody joker early? Not out of the leading trio, they don't. And Boak is trying to attack and defend at the same time right now. Boak second, Scott behind him in third, but it looks as though Paul Coney is getting away as they come across the loose for the first time. End of lap 1, up towards the line they come, and Coney has the advantage, and Paul Coney's trying to break clear of the rest of them now. Through he goes. Can Darren Scott come up and have a go at Mike Boak in second spot? Into the braking area for the tight right at the hole in the hedge. If you're going for the joker lap, it's even tighter, and Darren Scott there carries a bit more speed in, flicks the car through so the back steps out, and then he can just aim it straight across that hairpin into the joker lap through the chicane, and joins just ahead of Martin Hawks. Stands on the brakes, flings the car right, and you've got to be so careful there not to wallop the tyres and launch yourself. At the moment, it is Martin Hawks ahead in the minis, but of course, joker laps have to be factored in. Paul Coney leads the way across the loose through turn 2 that brings him up towards the hole in the hedge. Mike Boak in second place. Now that he doesn't have to defend from Darren Scott, chases after the race leader. Does he joker? No, nor does the man ahead of him, Paul Coney. There's Darren Scott third, so he's got the joker lap out of the way. He can just push on now and try and catch back up to the top 2. And then with the air conditioning working overtime, Andrew Hawks losing a place. Rob Methel battling with him. Andrew Hawks carries on, but the door flapping open. There it is again. Turns through the right-hander. It's not only letting the air in, it's probably letting the dust in as well, so it might be a bit uncomfortable in that car. David Bell, meantime, comes through Southside Motor Factor's right-hander, pushing on. Andrew Hawks with the air brake, falling away a little bit behind. There's lots of tyre squeal from the minis as they come out of turn 2, down towards the hole in the hedge once again. There is David Bell. Ahead of him, Martin Hawks serves the joker, so who is going to come out on top, and where is Drew Bellaby relative to David Bell now? Into Irish Ferry's corner goes Bell. Clear road around him, this means he can push on. Now there's Andrew Hawks, down once again through that last right-hander. Up front though, Paul Coney versus Mike Boak for the race lead still. Coney serves the joker, costs him position for the moment, and now he accelerates back across the tarmac, hits the loose behind Mike Boak. Now he's yet to joker, hasn't he? So Boak leads the way now, but what he's got to do is really push and try and build a big enough gap so that when he does joker, he remains ahead. He comes over the line, onto his last lap, so this is where Boak has got to serve the joker. Goes over the brow of the hill up towards the hole in the hedge once again. Mondello Park circuit that's played host in the past to British Formula 3, British GT, the British Touring Car Championship, and this weekend is very much all about British Rallycross. Boak for the joker, and Paul Coney I think is going to get the lead back. Look in the background, where is Boak? It's close, but Coney hangs on to the advantage. Mike Boak has thrown everything at this once again, but Paul Coney is just that little bit too quick for him. Down they come, nose to tail. Through the last corner, and this time Boak with so much speed runs wide over the curb through the gravel. Paul Coney is going to win. There's the checkered flag, and that means it's 5 from 5 for Paul Coney in Super 1600, and Mike Boak yet again threw everything at it but was denied right at the very end. Who's going to come out on top in the minis? However, we've had this day-long battle between Drew Bellaby and David Bell. The checkered flag is waved, and for the BMW Minis, David Bell takes a first win of the season. Confirmation of the results, Paul Coney from Mike Boak, Darren Scott taking third. Fourth goes the way of David Bell to win in the BMW Minis ahead of Andrew Hawks. In the championship, Paul Coney leading in Super 1600 from Craig Lomax and Darren Scott third from Phil Chicken. The Minis now has David Bell as the championship leader, Drew Bellaby taking second, Martin Hawks third ahead of Andrew Hawks.